Well, folks, we are definitely headed into some uncertain times. There's no doubt about it. I have people every day say, Brando, please find the silver lining. Please try to find some way to encourage us and uplift us. And folks, trust me, I want to do that. I really do believe that we can move forward and we can get through this. We're just going to have to weather the storm. But MAGA has won this thing, and that victory has went straight to their head, and they think because they've won this thing that just gives them the right to go absolutely haywire with every radical, crazy idea they've ever had. In their minds, the American people have spoken, and now we're all just going to have to roll with it whether we like it or not. It's completely different to me when Democrats get in power. Democrats always get in power, and they continue to try to go by the book and reach across the aisle, and they never really try to stiff arm anybody. To anyone out there who says that the Democrats are radical left, I just feel like they're completely out of touch. Especially Joe Biden, he is not by any means. He's a centrist. If he was over in a place like Germany, he would be considered right of center. And that's why I don't spend a whole lot of time ranting about the radical left. That's why I don't waste my time like Bill Maher has, just screaming about that, because they're not in positions of power, and they're not the ones now that this victory has went to their head and they think they can just run over top of all of us. But MAGA has, and this story here about Pete Hegseth should absolutely make everyone pause and stop and really think about what's happened and what could happen going forward. So I'm going to bring up this article here from MidasNews.com. This is by J.D. Wolf. Now, before we get reading this article, Pete Hegseth's radical push for a convention of states raises concerns, I do want to play you this clip here, and then we're going to read the article.
Spicy ideas like this one from Michael in South Dakota.
Spicy idea.
At what point do we, as honorably discharged veterans, create our own version of a convention of states? What would Sam Adams do?
Whoa. I think we have a convention of states, and I think we should use it. I'm a huge proponent, as you know, sometimes to your chagrin, because I'll take like a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and jump on a Zoom with convention of states, and you're like, hey, we had a free night. I'm like, I know. But I love the cause.
No, Mark, we love you.
No, I know. We love all of them. And Mark Meckler. Both believers in Article 5 Convention of States. I think that movement is still growing. I think that movement will be, regardless of what happens in this administration, because of the way the left is going to try to attack Trump, will be more relevant than ever. And I look forward to the day when we're at 29, 30, 31 states.
Okay, so there you have it. He thinks the left is going to be going after Trump, and that means they're going to have to double down and go with this convention of states. Let's read this article here together. Pete Hegseth, nominee for Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump, has voiced enthusiastic support for a convention of states, a controversial proposal that has long been championed by far-right groups. Speaking during a promotional interview with his wife in June, Hegseth revealed not only his alignment with the cause, but his active participation in its efforts, which included joining Zoom calls dedicated to advancing the movement, and name-dropped Mark Meckler, a proponent of the movement. A convention of states enabled under Article 5 of the Constitution would allow state legislatures to propose sweeping amendments to the Constitution without congressional approval. Because this process would allow for the Constitution to be rewritten, critics warn of the potential for chaos and extremism, with the possibility of unraveling fundamental protections enshrined in the Constitution. Hegseth's endorsement of the efforts aligns with a growing push by far-right activists who hope to capitalize on Republican control in state legislatures. His suggestion that a convention would become more relevant than ever due to the political scrutiny facing Trump underscores the ideological motivations behind his proposal. The idea of a convention of states is seen by many as a fringe concept that threatens to undermine the delicate checks and balances of both the American system, and therefore is opposed by groups on both sides of the political divide. But folks, listen very closely to this next part. During a convention of states, far-right groups could enshrine a nationwide abortion ban, end marriage equality, and abolish term limits for the presidency, which means it could be a path for Trump to serve longer than 4 additional years. Hegseth's vocal advocacy for this cause as a potential Secretary of Defense would put him in a position to back decisions made by Convention of States with military might. At a time when democracy itself faces numerous challenges, Hegseth's support for such a radical initiative should give both lawmakers and voters pause about his fitness for a role as critical as Secretary of Defense. So folks, I can't count the videos that I've done here on my channel, and I can't count the videos that I've seen on the Midas Touch Network. I can't count the videos that I've seen from people like David Packman, Luke Beasley, Bo of the Fifth Column, Brian Tyler Cohen, you name them. I have saw so many people out there trying to raise awareness on the threat that Donald Trump and MAGA pose to democracy, and pretty much everything that we've been talking about and being called crazy for talking about it, and oh, they would never do that. You guys are just being hyperbolic. You're just trying to create hysteria. No, now they're saying that's exactly what they would do. So again, their idea of kicking it back to the states is meaningless if some red states can come together to push through this radical agenda and everyone else is forced to go along with it. We've talked about Trump saying he wants to be dictator on day one. Well, there's a plan to make him one right there in front of our faces. There's a plan for a federal abortion ban. There's a plan for ending marriage equality. Everything that we tried to tell people was in Project 2025 is now playing out right in front of our faces. They're saying it out loud, and they're saying because the American people voted, we're just going to run over top of everybody and push this stuff through. And when I say what I'm about to say, I'm in no way giving Donald Trump a pass for anything. He doesn't deserve a pass. It's truly disheartening to see him get away with so much. He should have been punished to the fullest extent of the law. He should have been held accountable for everything that he's done. But the people underneath him, the radical people who used him as a pawn to get him over that finish line and get him in there, they're the ones we really need to keep our eyes on. Donald Trump is the type of guy that the left could start patting him on the back tomorrow, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, he would come around because he's the most fragile dude ever, and all you got to do is pat him on the back and give him a compliment, and he's right there with you. That guy can be so easily manipulated, and he was easily manipulated into this spot. Now, they got him over the finish line. They got J.D. Vance in there. They're all sitting back going, hey, we can pave the way for everything we've ever wanted. This story right here should definitely make anyone pause, and anyone out there, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum. I don't care if you're far right, middle, far left, middle, centrist, whatever you are. Everyone should stop and pause and think about this one long and hard, because that's not, we don't need that type of power-hungry people on either side of the aisle. I would not be for this if it was the other way around. I would not be for this. You would hear Brando start to talk more about the radical left if they posed the threat to democracy that the radical right does. That's why I don't sit here like Bill Maher and harp on woke, because there's nothing wrong with being aware of what's going on. You need to be awake. You sure as hell don't need to be asleep while stuff like this is happening. So to anyone that's like, Brando, don't talk about the radical left, when they get in a position of power and start trying to push stuff through and have no regard for any rules or any checks and balances, you'll hear me start talking about it, because I'm for democracy. It's got nothing to do with the left versus the right. It's about all of us having a voice. And their plan is to silence us and take away our voices, and they're saying it right there. It's right there in front of us, and it's something that everybody really needs to stop and pause, regardless of whether you agree with everything I've ever said. Just stop and think, is this the type of country we want to live in? We're going to be in it for a while, but when I say elections have consequences, these are the consequences. And all we can do now is hang on for dear life, try to get to the midterms, and try to get through the next 4 years. But that right there should definitely cause anyone to stop and pause and really think about what's going on in this country and what the radical right plans to do. And they love to shout radical left every chance they get. We need to start shouting radical right as hard as we can, because they're the ones that are in control, and they're the ones that's pushing for an even more radical agenda. I truly do appreciate you guys for coming along on this wild and crazy and bumpy ride with me. We've made it over 430,000 subscribers. I would really like to see us get to 500,000. I've been saying I'd like to see it happen before January 20th. But folks, we've gained 30,000 followers or subscribers in the last 10 days. So we're on track to do that before New Year's, and I truly appreciate everyone's support. I will always try to find the silver lining. I will always try to encourage everyone and say we can get through this and we will get through this, but we have to be aware of the extremism that's going on. We have to pay attention to it, and we have to share these kind of stories with the people in our lives that says both sides are the same. No, they're not. Share this story with them. I don't care to be the guy to tick them off. Don't care a bit to piss off your Uncle Randy. Send it to him and let him know what's at stake, because we have got to get more people to be awake. We have got to awaken more people, because we are definitely headed in to some dark times, and we're going to be on a bumpy ride. So let's do our part and try to get everyone up to speed on all the madness that's out there.